Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, with a review of Wolfman, written and directed by Leigh Whannell and released by Blumhouse, the second entry in their series of movies that use the titles of classic Universal monster films just for the sake of brand recognition because the Dark Universe failed after one movie. Universal has to make their money back somehow. Leigh Whannell, the co-creator of the Saw and Insidious franchises, recently switched gears from just writing and acting in his movies to directing. And I liked his last couple of films, Upgrade, the gritty sci-fi vigilante flick, and his take on Invisible Man, which of course had nothing to do with the H.G. Wells story or its original Universal adaptation. But it was at least an interesting interpretation of a story involving a man who is invisible through a high-tech suit that he uses to gaslight his ex. A dumb idea on paper, which is why I was skeptical of it before release, but execution is everything. Which brings us to Wolfman, which I was also skeptical of. There had been a lot of discourse surrounding this movie in the months leading up to its release, when a scare actor at Halloween Horror Nights dressed as one of the film's werewolves leaked online, looking absolutely nothing like a werewolf, but instead like a syphilitic prospector. I'm a wolf, and I'm also a man, so I'm an authority on what this shit is supposed to look like. It was so far from what you think of and want from a werewolf that to cope, I tried to convince myself that it was just a mistake. Universal just put a random, unrelated scare actor in front of a Wolfman poster, but no. A later trailer confirmed that this scare actor is an accurate depiction of the movie's main werewolf. It's clear that Leigh Whannell wanted the Wolfman in this movie to be a surprise going in because it would be divisive, and Universal and Blumhouse just ended up completely fucking things up the ass and killing any hype surrounding the movie. And I'm gonna kill the hype even more with my review of Wolfman 2025. But first I have a message from my sponsor, me! Pledge to my Patreon today to support the channel, help it continue to grow, and you'll also get access to weekly movie nights every Sunday, and archive commentaries if you miss the movie nights live. Just $5 a month to get a movie night every week. Here are the movies I'll be streaming next Sunday. Pledge to patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula if you're interested in my bonus streams, and I thank you in advance.
You're scaring me.
Like I alluded earlier, Wolfman 2025 has nothing to do with the original 1941 classic starring Lon Chaney Jr., besides sharing the same title. But without the, because it's cleaner.
Drop the. It's cleaner.
If you're a fan of the original Wolfman, or even the more faithful 2010 remake, don't expect anything in this new film resembling an actual Wolfman movie beyond there being a wolf-adjacent creature in the film. There aren't even any subtle homages to the original film, just as an acknowledgement.
I'm Lonnie Talbot. That's great. Take care now.
There's no ancient curse, nobody named Talbot or even Larry, none of that shit. Put any of that out of your mind watching this new movie.
No, it's no use.
The monsters in this new Wolfman film aren't even really conventional werewolves. They're monsters inspired by the concept and mythology of a werewolf. Wolfmen! It almost feels like Leigh Whannell is transparently communicating to us that Blumhouse commissions him to make these movies with classic Universal monster film titles with only the basic premises left intact. But he doesn't really give a fuck about these classic movies and is sort of embarrassed being associated with them. But hey, if it means being paid to make a movie you otherwise have creative freedom on, fuck it!
I don't give a crap if you covered yourself in peanut butter and had a 15-hooker gangbang.
Oh yeah, Ryan Gosling was attached to star in this Wolfman flick as a passion project he pitched for, but I think once Whannell got on board and made it clear he didn't want to do an actual Wolfman movie, Gosling stepped aside and was like, you can put my name on it as a producer, but I'm not gonna be involved with this bullshit. This new Wolfman film concerns a family of New Yorkers, the Lovells, comprised of stay-at-home dad / maybe writer Blake, played by Christopher Abbott.
It's my job to protect you.
His journalist breadwinner wife Charlotte, played by Julia Garner, who's 30 years old but with a head of hair of a 75-year-old Mima.
We were attacked.
And the couple's daughter Ginger, who's in the movie to try to make us care about what happens in the film because a little girl's put in danger.
Hurry, Mommy, he's coming.
And the main couple doesn't have any chemistry with each other. They don't like each other that much. In the film, this couple is drifting apart, so it's not a tragedy that their relationship is inevitably torn apart. And I honestly thought initially in the trailers that Charlotte was Blake's teenage daughter or something.
You're scaring me.
Charlotte and Blake have to stay strong for their daughter Ginger, though. That's what this movie really is all about. The main characters in this movie are Leigh Whannell resorting to Blumhouse's tired, manipulative, and hollow formula of a dysfunctional family put to the test, and we're expected to care because a defenseless little kid is put into the crossfire.
Are we gonna die?
But the kids in these Blumhouse flicks are all identically blandly cute and indestructible. Ginger in this movie sleeps through more than half of the events of the film. She's also 10, but she's written like she's 3 years old or something.
Please, Daddy's mean.
These horror movies now are so into taking shortcuts to make us invested by putting kids in danger, but they aren't willing to actually put an effort to make it feel like these kids are really in peril. They could actually die. Halloween 4 and 5 are flawed films, but one thing they nailed is making it feel like Danielle Harris was in actual peril, something these Blumhouse movies never manage. The often rich families in these films also just aren't relatable to the average person. The couple in this film are both writers, the dad is able to be out of work long term and they can still afford their Manhattan apartment, and buy their daughter frivolous gifts and treats. This comes off as a creator of 2 ultra-successful horror franchises who has been a millionaire for 20 years trying to desperately write something relatable, but this is the best he could come up with.
You know how on Safe Bars people be eating their lobster like this?
A blue-collar hunter guy does meet with the family halfway through the film and just comments on how the family are all lucky to live such a happy, sheltered life. But realistically, that guy would say, "You guys are a bunch of pussies, I guess."
Don't look at me in the eyes.
This is a Wolfman movie, though, technically kinda, and that's where things become marginally interesting. Blake has an estranged survivalist father in rural Oregon who has recently been declared dead. So Blake decides to make his father's death a fun little retreat for the family to bond over and grow closer to each other through a man's demise. A Star Wars-style bit of opening crawl exposition revealed in the film's beginning is that a hiker disappeared in the woods where Blake grew up as a boy, and it was said that the hiker contracted a mysterious disease that turned the hiker into a monster. A disease, and the cliches keep rolling on, that the local Native Americans called Face of the Wolf. And this local myth resulted in Blake's father overprotecting his son and causing Blake to ironically drift away from his dad.
What's my job?
To keep our daughter safe.
An on-the-nose, directly stated theme of the film is that overparenting can cause a child to resent their parent, that you can care too much about something, but that's the paradox of being a parent. You have to do whatever you can to protect your child, but where do you draw the line and give your child their space?
It's my job to protect you.
It's a theme this movie repeatedly reminds us of, but it doesn't quite work with a werewolf film, or at least this overly grounded version of a werewolf movie. It could work if we were dealing with a conventional werewolf that shifts between being human and a monster, so the parent has to protect their child from themselves. But becoming a werewolf is a one-way trip in this movie. But anyway, on the way to Blake's father's home, the family dodges a silver bullet almost running over a wolfman. Good thing they didn't hit it, they're an endangered species. And the father Blake ends up infected with the lycanthropic affliction, gradually transforming into a creature as the family hides inside Blake's father's nearby home.
What is happening to me?
This is the one interesting idea of this Wolfman film, the body horror of slowly turning into a werewolf. Usually a werewolf transformation is quick, or at least depicted through editing is quick, so it's an interesting departure to see somebody slowly and gradually transform into a more grounded, believable version of a werewolf, initially subtly. Blake's teeth fall out, replaced by fangs, his fingernails pop off, claws taking their place. Blake's senses and perceptions change. He sees in night vision, he can't understand what his family says to him anymore. He can hear a spider's legs from downstairs as loud pounding sounds. It's a fucked up idea to see somebody slowly and gradually lose their humanity and turn into something that looks like me. But this Wolfman movie doesn't land the plane. The movie cheats the transformations. Blake will disappear at points and return a little more transformed off screen. The original Wolfman showed us a werewolf transformation all in one shot, but this movie keeps aspects of the transformation obscured, and the transformation doesn't culminate in anything interesting or scary. Blake's final Wolfman form still looks too human. He looks like Ron Perlman in Beauty and the Beast, but without the sick mullet. The movie misses the chance to turn Blake's personality as a father into something more aggressive, where part of his early transformation is becoming a threat to his family that he tries to fight against, becoming the thing he fears most. But Blake isn't a threat until the last 20 minutes of the movie. Until the last act, the threat of Wolfman is another Wolfman outside the house the family hides in. This initial Wolfman has a super obvious twist late in the movie, and they might as well have just revealed it earlier. But then again, somebody in my audience was so shocked by the twist that they said it out loud in astonishment, and I forget that these Blumhouse movies are targeted towards people with double-digit IQs that need to talk during a movie to be able to follow what's happening in the simplest story imaginable. The first Wolfman outside the house is minimized as a threat for most of the film. He doesn't try very hard to get into the house. The movie takes place over the course of one night, and the characters are able to sleep through a lot of it. The movie only concerns 3 characters too. The only character who is killed is very minor, introduced, and then killed off screen. The way the movie is unfortunately designed, and not a lot of interesting shit can happen. When the family is in danger, it never feels real because we never see a Wolfman directly kill somebody, just drag somebody off. What these Wolfmen are capable of is never established to make the threat feel real. It feels like the movie is holding back. It puts a kid in danger, but doesn't want to go too far with that. It's uncomfortable with making us feel uncomfortable. It's a Wolfman movie without any teeth. If Leigh Whannell takes on more of these Universal monster movies, he needs to be conscious of the fact that they have to live up to the reputations of their titles. The stories can overall be unrelated to their predecessors, but you call a movie Wolfman, there's an expectation that it's going to have the ultimate incarnation of a werewolf in it, and that's just not the case with this movie. If this film was titled something like Wolves of Oregon or whatever, it wouldn't have to live up to jack shit. It'd still be an unremarkable movie, but it could be said it gets the job done as a random werewolf flick, and it's at least better than a typical Blumhouse movie. But you bring legacy to something, you end up inviting comparison whether you like it or not. This grounded, modern attempt at a Wolfman movie is such a stark contrast coming off the heels of Robert Eggers' Nosferatu remake, which was a sincere, faithful tribute to the original film that wasn't for everybody, but felt like a carefully crafted work of art made by somebody who really loved the original Nosferatu. This Wolfman movie feels like it could have been made by anyone in comparison. There isn't even a hint that the director saw the original Wolfman.
I'm scared.
This movie was announced as Wolfman, but if you told me that Blumhouse changed the title to Wolfman late into post-production to try to boost ticket sales, I'd believe you. If you want to watch a modern take on the Wolfman that's more true to the source material, I recommend the Benicio del Toro remake from 2010. It's a very flawed remake that starts off strong, but goes off the rails, feeling more like a gritty superhero film than a gothic horror movie, and it has some very tacky CGI, and Del Toro's Lawrence Talbot is too cold and stoic to get attached to. Turning Anthony Hopkins' Surgeon into a supervillain feels hokey and unearned, but at the very least Rick Baker's makeup design of the Wolfman is cool, and that movie feels like it's trying to live up to being a Wolfman film. That just isn't the case with Whannell's Wolfman. I give Wolfman 2025 an Abbott out of Costello.
Rated R.
They can't all be winners, Leigh. They can't all be winners.
This one's the best.
The Gulag channel will be returning soon with Goulash's Lost video covering the Beetlejuice cartoon and other Beetlejuice media. Click the card or the link in the description to subscribe to the Gulag channel today so you don't miss it. This video is made possible through the pledges of my Patreon supporters, and I'd like to give a very special thanks to the kind folks pledged to my shoutouts tier. All of the support on Patreon means a lot to me, and it helps my dark influence continue to grow. If you like this video, like it, and if you loved it, click the subscribe and bell buttons for more vids. Be sure to also keep in touch by following me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Wolfula. While I still have your attention, consider pledging to my Patreon to support the channel and get bonus content like previews, VIP VIP Discord server access, private movie night streams, and credits in videos. Consider pledging at patreon.com/Dr. Wolfula. Also, check out official Dr. Wolfula t-shirts and other merch on tpublic.com/user/Dr. Wolfula. Thanks for watching. See you all next time. Dr. Wolfula signing out.